Morning, everyone. Welcome to Talking Horses. Anthony Stabile, Andy Sterling. 9-race card today, a pick 6 carryover. Expecting to get some showers into the afternoon. We are still on the turf for races 1 and 3. Hopefully the rain won't be a situation which takes the third off, but first race we're going ahead with the turf. We have a lot to talk about. Should we get to work?
I believe so.
NYRA Bets. Head over to NYRA Bets. Not a member of NYRA Bets. No better time than the present. Use the promo code MATCH200. We'll match the $200 of your initial deposit. Head on over to NYRABets.com. We have the pick 6 carryover we mentioned, 33-4-34. It's not quite symmetric. If it was 33-4-33.
Three's full of fours.
$1 less. Yeah, well, no, I kind of like it was 33-4-33. There's a symmetry to that. It's a palindromic number. Anyhow, that starts in race 4. Despite what somebody told me on Twitter, all those races are scheduled for the dirt, so none of them will be coming off the turf. Middle pick 4, that starts in race number 3 today. Races 3 through 6. We have a $25 bonus if you bet at least $75 in Aqueduct, Churchill, and Del Mar, as Del Mar begins their November meet today. And what else?
We have a full slate of plays at Aqueduct. We have bonus plays, Churchill and Del Mar, to help you get through that promotion.
There you have it. Flavien Prat back to Del Mar.
Johnny V out there as well.
Really? Is he out for the meet?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I saw him going to the paddock here the other day, and he said to me, these days I can't figure out where I am because he's at so many different tracks.
He's at Del Mar.
Well, it'd be fun there. I went there for the November meet a few years ago. Had a good time. The contest, you have until 5 o'clock today. $300 buy-in, all cash and seat prizes. Head to NYRA.com/contest. Race number 1. It feels as though the Provision, Barry the Builder crew has been assembling.
Okay.
There we go. Has been assembling quite a few times, and the question is one of them finally going to break their maiden? We'll go back to the race on September 16th, where Barry the Builder finished 4th, Provision finished 2nd. I got to tell you, I would probably prefer Barry the Builder. I'm just a little sick and tired of Provision. It felt like he had his chances to win. And I just don't, he's run fine in those races. I thought I wanted Barry the Builder more of these horses because at least he was involved in the pace that day.
Yeah, I went the other way. I thought I wanted Provision more than Barry. I don't really like Barry the Builder today. Be curious to see.
Why don't you like Barry the Builder?
Well, I understand the first time on the turf, the post kind of hurt him, and then he got himself involved in a pace duel second time. I don't like the fact that they kept him in last time out off the first bed race. Now
maybe they were doing everybody a favor and trying to leave horses.
They were trying to keep their date. Yeah, well, it was a 9-horse field. I don't know. It's almost like horses that do that, to me, are kind of treated a little bit like an afterthought. He's going to be a good price. He's going to be a good price, though. So I guess I can't knock him too much.
Do whatever you like. You pick the same horse as I did. Clear conscience. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't. To be honest with you, Barry the Builder, Provision, I don't like any of them particularly. So I went to Clermont first.
So you do.
Yeah, well, I had to go somewhere, but I don't. I'm not rushing to my NYRA Bets to bet him. Jose Ortiz on the 1, by the way. Joel Rosario off Ms. Mounts again this afternoon. So Jose Ortiz going to ride the 1. Dan was 1 for 2. Plenty of turf pedigree there. But the Blame's a good influence. I just went with the firster.
Dan ran an 84 buyer on the turf. She actually ran for Chad Brown. She was a Klarvich horse. The second dam was a very nice turf horse. Ran buyers figures of 90. There's been one runner on the turf, and that was a flincher. I think the Blame might end up being a better influence. This horse does have good pedigree. Christophe Clement has a good record with these horses, and I agree. It's hard to be overly enthusiastic about anybody here. Atlanta's Acuna tries the turf for the first time. There is a little bit of pedigree there. Mapopism was the one. The one turf horse. But he was an Uncle Mo. This is across traffic. Not sure you get as much turf influence there. And going through the race, friend Rick Schosberg has a horse. Rick's been unstoppable since he started appearing on our show. There is actually pedigree for the number 8 Win Giant, but hard really to get too excited about that horse given the whole situation. But I could see that horse. Didn't see a whole lot else going on in here
I was told Tony Dutrow could run a little bit. But obviously, you cannot beat the number 12. That's the number 12 slap in the face. Great name, but that's a tough post.
Well, I mean, the race, there's a long time to get to the first turn.
Yeah.
I wouldn't just dismiss a horse because of the post in those
Oh, I'm
situations.
not dismissing him, but I'm just saying it's a little bit of a tough draw.
There is pedigree for Dave Donk's horse, Tony O. I don't love the Laubands in the turf. While the dam didn't win in the turf, she ran okay on it. She's produced 2 turf winners, and they're better runners in the turf. So that Tony O is a little bit interesting in here as well. I wish it was more of a proficient turf sire. Race number 2. So race number 2, Matt Doyle probably be one of the favorites in here, though David has the horse the 4th choice in the line.
Yeah.
He's getting a little tired of this horse, though he is second on the time on the dirt off the layoff. He's just been disappointing. He seems to get there. He just doesn't get it done.
That last race is a problem. He was not good last time. He didn't have any. I didn't see any real excuse either. They weren't going that fast up front. He was in a good spot.
He still ran Beyer figures that are,
Yeah, I know.
are capable of winning,
Yeah.
depending on the first-time stars in this race. It's not like he's run any worse really than Happy Bob. We'll show Happy Bob's first race, the horse you have on top. What's your excuse for his last race?
I don't have one. He's gone 3 months though, off of a really good debut. Yeah, I have no excuse for the first. I have no excuse last time.
He did run well
0.
first time. He took a lot of money out, a lot of money in this race. And his last race he comes out of is that race where Todd Pletcher ran 1-2 with the entry. There was super short price, but the wrong half of the entry won. And Expressman came back here at a very short price, and he lost to Nabokov, who did run a big figure in his subsequent start when finishing second. Unlimited Potential was a horse they were betting, who finished a distant second. He went to Keeneland and he lost a subsequent start there. So it's been like a little bit of a disappointing race. A race that got a huge figure has just turned out not to be good. I don't disagree. I thought Happy Bob ran well first time out. You've got 2 first-time starters. Now, we'll take a look at Magical Ways for Bill Mott, who you have 3rd and I have 4th. This is a workout. I want to show this because it really gets some idiots on Twitter all upset when I show 2-year-old sales workouts from a year and a half. And, you know, I can't resist the opportunity to get Twitter trolls upset. So this horse worth 20 4/5, which probably had a lot to do with why the horse sold for $400,000 because, frankly, there is not a ton of pedigree to speak of in this horse.
Nope.
This horse could be dangerous for Bill Mott, but I always feel like the Bill Mott filly first-time starters
No question about
are
it.
more dangerous than the Colts. He's had so much more success with fillies first time out than Colts.
Yeah,
It might be a little random.
I don't know about you, but I always get a little leery when they're so late into their 3-year-old season and they haven't run yet. I put them with that said, I put them 2-3 in here, quite frankly, because I am a little sick and tired of Matt Doyle, of his performances. So, but yeah, I guessed with the first or second and third.
As far as Opportunity Set was entered on Cigar Mile Day last year. And whether or not he would have become another horse to break his maiden on Cigar Mile Day that won a Grade 1 remains to be seen. But he's actually a horse that came in, I believe, with early voting. And early voting broke his maiden a little over a week after. I think he broke his maiden on December 13th for 10th.
I thought it was the 10th.
No, whatever. It was the following
that
week.
week.
I'm not sure. We might have erased the 13th for all I know.
Right. We didn't.
And this horse was rumored to be good. I mean, he was scratched with an issue. He comes back a year later. Now, listen, sometimes they come back a year later and they can't run. And we've seen it before.
Sure.
But this horse was supposed to be okay, so we'll see what happens. So I took this one on top.
Okay.
Nice Chad Brown Carter's first-time starter that was... I don't know if that horse in the first race was necessarily bet solely because...
The Todd Pletcher horse scratched?
No. What was the horse's name? Undervalued asset. I wonder if it also was because they didn't like any of the other horses in there.
Maybe.
Asmussen took absolutely no money in that race. It just felt like a race where nobody liked any of the other horses, and that played into the fact that the horse was massively bet, aside from the fact the horse ran pretty well in that 72 Beyer first out. Race number 3 on the turf. If it comes off the turf with the 12 coming out, I mean, I guess Prince of Pharaohs will be an overwhelming favorite. It's hard to imagine who else is going to take any money in this race. If not, hopefully this race will stay on. So we'll start out with Grape Nuts Warrior in here, who I have 4th and you have 3rd. I'm concerned that the lack of pace is going to hurt Grape Nuts Warrior, though he has been showing a little bit more speed, so maybe he can be a bit closer. And I don't think his loss to Shutters is embarrassing. Shutters has really improved.
Yeah, Shutters has the potential to be a state-bred stakes horse next year.
Well, I would wonder where Shutters is, being that we never saw him again after this race. So you would have to think that maybe you would have seen him trying something else if this race was in the middle of September.
Well, I don't think. I mean, if you're going to try,
It's 2 months later. He never ran again.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to try him in the Ticonderoga though. Against
Could have run
City
in
Man and
non-winners of
those
one
horses.
against open horses.
Oh, open horses, yeah.
I mean,
guess.
he's got two choices: to run in non-winners of one, or run not like I don't think he's waiting. He's probably not playing for the Pegasus turf, though. Considering some of the fields they've had for that race, he might be one of the favorites. Yeah, I thought he was okay. I don't love these horses that make these one big runs, especially in races, and I think it's a massive factor that there's no speed. And as we show Straw into Gold and Catch That Party, it works against Catch That Party, but don't you think Straw into Gold? I mean, this is the race. Have they named a rider yet? I didn't have a rider.
I don't have
when
a
this
rider
practice
either,
came
no.
out.
No, sir.
Isn't today the day you just send him?
Check the email. Yes, they're supposed to.
And he's Trevor McCarthy's riding him. That guy has no clue out there, so he'll probably take him back to last. I mean, I imagine that Trevor understands that there's no pace in here, and I joke because Trevor's acutely aware of race dynamics and track biases. And by the way, there's a preposterous notion out there that you couldn't close on these turf courses. People who are saying that need to actually look at the results and understand that the results have been a function of race dynamics and not any kind of bias in the turf, at least recently. I would just send this horse to the lead. And much as I don't like this horse, and you've given up on him, I think he's a major threat to wire the field today. I mean, he's kind of a loser, this guy, but he gets in front. He could get brave in here.
That's not nice, Andy.
Well, he is. I mean, look at his races.
You know,
he gets perfect trips. He's short. I mean, do you realize the prices he is every week after week?
It's
And he just
unbelievable.
never wins. And it's funny. I mean,
He's never been. The last time out, he was $5.80 to the dollar. It was the longest price he'd been by a point.
Right. And when's the last? What did he do the last time he won a race?
Yeah,
he wired the field. Now he was
good.
even money, and I mean I'm not trying to mitigate it, but if this horse doesn't go to the front today, it would just be ridiculous. I mean, Barrage is the only horse that can go.
I thought about both of them.
Well, Barrage can't win here. He's just not that good.
I thought about it if Barrage is the one that just goes.
No, you got to go with Straw into Gold.
I don't disagree, and
you
that's
gotta-
why I
you
didn't
gotta-
take.
you gotta- you just gotta go
Barrage.
with him. You got to just go with him.
Yeah.
As far as the horse you picked on top, the 8 grade in the curve, we're going to go back to his win.
You know they didn't put the W in there. The waiver is not in there, for some reason. Remember that was the day you got me?
Yes, that's incorrect. He did not run for a tag in this race. It's an interesting point. The chart is wrong. I think it's because they had it wrong in the originally or
quirky.
something.
It's a little quirky.
Well, they also needed to do a better job of putting inner turf and outer turf for the Aqueduct or BAQ meet, because they're just putting turf, and you don't know if it's on the outer turf or the inner turf, and that's a little bit frustrating, to be honest with
The
you.
only thing you know is the 6 furlong races are on the outer turf, obviously. But you don't know anything else, correct?
Go ahead, you picked them.
Yeah, you know, maybe a little bit of a lazy pick. I didn't want Grape Nuts Warrior. I didn't want to get too inventive, hoping that Straw into Gold, Guns, and or Barrage.
Well,
Guns.
Manny should go with this horse.
I'm sorry?
Manny should go with graded on a curve.
I
I'm
don't
not saying in
disagree
front,
with that.
but he should at least be sitting close.
Yes, and I'm hoping that he is a little bit more forward. When Manny rode him in that aforementioned waiver race, he was a little closer than
He's
he
got to
ordinarily
get this
is.
horse in the game.
Yeah.
He was 3 wide around the track against a much better field last time, and actually didn't run that badly. And he is absolutely, I agree with you, the horse to beat here, and he'll be favored. And I think he should be. I have to bet the out of conditions horse Battle Scars. And at the end of the day, he probably isn't good enough to beat these. Rob Atras obviously desperate to run him. He's been on A's. He's been rained off the turf. He has tried to get in since that race at Saratoga, but he just keeps getting unlucky. This horse ran unbelievably well last time. I mean, even if it was a fair racetrack, his performance was incredibly good and similar to the performance of the horse that won the last race yesterday, in that he was incredibly wide, 3-4 wide the whole way around the track and still closing. When you add in the fact that that was the first day of the acute inner turf course rail bias, this horse ran a remarkable race last time. I'm not sure where it came from. I'm not sure he can beat against better horses, but I have to give him a shot, out of conditions or not, in race number 3 on the grass. Race number 4 kicks off the pick 6, carryover $33,434. Thank you, guys. And we've got a bunch of horses that met recently in this race, and Burt took a brutal beating here. Central Pride, this was 2 back for Central Pride, his last dirt race. I'm not sure, but I like the aggressive Dylan Davis. The aggressive Dylan Davis is the best rider. and a very good rider. I get some of his bad habits getting a little lazy, and I thought he gave this horse an awful lot to do in here. On the other hand, Burt was 3 wide around the track, 3-4 wide around the track, and that was a very strong rail that day. So I think he was compromised by the racetrack. I thought they were the 2 horses in here. I just took Central Pride because I thought maybe he got a little lost in there, and I was hoping he was more forward today.
Okay.
That's all.
I didn't want any of them, so I just took.
Why?
I really like that race. I don't really like that race.
Well, they.
Burt. If I wanted one, I would take Burt.
What's the good race that horses in here are coming out?
No, nothing. I just hope steerage goes wire to wire.
Okay.
That was it.
We'll show Steerage's race. Go ahead, you can comment.
Yeah, it's just an off the turf race where he's chasing, and he didn't chase a very fast pace, but
We've got that replay. We can show it.
he figures to be in front here unless they come gunning out of there with Midnight Express from the rail, and that's not really Gerard Ortiz Jr.'s MO. So I'm just hoping Dylan. It's funny you were saying you like the aggressive Dylan. I hope the aggressive Dylan shows up here because this horse, his only chance on the stretch is going to be to get in front of these horses and keep going.
If he doesn't stumble badly come out of the gate, he has to be in front.
Yeah,
it's a bad horse, though. I mean, not with all due respect. He comes out of a horrifically bad off the turf race. I mean, Cumberland Blues, not much horse, did ride a old rail. This horse was too wide when the rail was good, so I'll move him up a little. But you say I don't like the race that the 3 and 7 are coming out of. It was a lot better race than the race that Steerage is coming out of.
I don't disagree with that, but the difference is going to be in price. He's going to be
the difference is Louis Lazzanero owns the 5
no,
too.
It's going to be twice the price of these other 2 horses.
People are going to see him as the speed. You think he's going to be? I don't know. We'll see.
I think Central Pride's going to be the horse that gets bet in here because they're going to see the
they're
first
both
time.
Going to get bet.
First time for the tag, hit gate.
Well, the gate doesn't matter, but okay, we'll see what happens. I prefer the horse in the other race.
You buried me yesterday on the tote board.
Yeah, well, you didn't do enough work on that race, so you deserved a
No,
punishment.
listen, that was the. I just figured it. I knew it was happening. It was a 1 fig race against the Chad Brown horse that had burned a ton of money over there. I just figured they would go back to him.
No, that's not what's going on. There was a horse that, based on his wide trip last time, ran about 10 lengths better than the Chad Brown horse, and you offered me 3 to 1.
I understood that, but my point was that they kept going back. They keep going back to that horse.
Okay, Salty Air. Salty Air probably can't run anymore, but this horse actually had some trips in his races and actually was a little bit interesting. I just don't know if this horse can run at all anymore, but this is the interesting horse to me in here, and a horse that would be a C somewhere in my pick sixes, just in case. Race number 5. I think one of the real questions in this pick 6, excuse me, is whether or not where Tough Street's last race came from.
Right.
As we show his last race, or her last race, excuse me, and whether or not you think it's possible she's going to run it again, because it's a pretty big figure. I know Be a Star's been running big numbers, but where did this race come from, and how reliable is she to run it again?
And you know what's funny, Andy? She had run a 64 fig the start before, right? And she had already run a 64 and a 62.
She was awful at 2-back, losing to her stablemate. She was horrendous.
You see, that's funny because I thought the other way around. I thought like that was a better race than the off the turf race, and well, it probably wasn't a better race than her first race. But
it actually wasn't. But okay, she lost at November Rain, her debut. She
Right,
was
that's
awful.
what I
She was
just-
awful.
that's what I said.
She was the reason the entry was 1 or 2, not Jet Set Julie.
Right.
The wrong half of the entry won.
But she came back and just, I mean,
She crushed the field. It wasn't a good field, but she
I don't
ran
know
a
what you
big
do
figure
with
in a
that.
fast
And
race.
she's going to find herself again, especially with Manchin scratching. I mean, she's got to find herself in front here, right?
Yeah, yeah.
There's no, I mean, there's,
She was in front even if Manchin was in here. Yeah, she's the speed.
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to be surprised she wins the race. I don't really like her as a racehorse, but she is the speed.
I don't either, but
You've got you talk about Mia Be a Star.
I mean, she's just been consistent. She runs one of those last 2 races, and I know they're running her an awful lot. You almost think she's at Yonkers as opposed to Aqueduct, but they're running her every week. I mean,
She
Know
doesn't
It All
win.
Audrey would be barred from wagering in here.
She doesn't win.
She doesn't win. No, but you know what?
She doesn't win, and she's going to be a short price, and she doesn't win.
How short do you think she'll be?
5 to 2.
Well, see, I don't think that's too short of a price for her in here.
Okay.
You know, I mean, and you look at her line, not for nothing. No, 2 Know It All Audreys. She was behind Know It All Audrey when Know It All Audrey was second to Sweet Mystery. Truancy ran second to the Colts.
It's not exactly the most reliable barn to take
It's
at
not
a short price.
absolutely not, and you don't.
And it's
And you
a
don't
barn
really
that
want
wins
to
at big prices.
And you don't really want to take them at a short price. I don't disagree, but I mean, you have a
I
horse coming out
understand.
of
She ran 80
maiden
plus
quarter.
buyers in this field. She lays over them from
Yeah.
a speed figure standpoint. I'm not taking her to short price,
Okay.
but I totally understand what you're saying. I mean, I picked her second.
And I think the horse you picked has to be aggressive to be a competitor in here.
The interesting thing to me in Soft for Adada is we'll take a look at her last race at Parks, however she may or may not be ridden, and she was aggressive in her last race, is that this stable, when they've had horses here, they've brought horses here that were ready to win races. And one of them didn't win, ran second, but ran the best race. Another of them won as a massive upset off the claim and a sort of impossible horse to take. And for me, I think it's interesting who the connections are. And I look at this race and I say, well, I don't want me to be a star at a short price. She doesn't win, though obviously she's the horse to beat. I don't argue with you there. And I don't know how good Tough Street is, and she is the speedier, and without Mancha in the race, she's definitely helped, and she can win, but I'm not going to pick her at a short price, and had about enough of Chase and Bryn. I'm going to take the new face for an operation that shipped horses here that have been live. And we're going to take a break, because I know you need a little time, because you want to get ready to talk about today's sixth race, because it's a doozy. So all of you might want to take a little rest, relax, and get ready, because that conversation about race number 6 is going to blow your mind.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.
Welcome back to Talking Horses, the race you've all been waiting for. Nobody loves more than Anthony and I, and you too, a six-horse field that scratches down to 3 in here. And tell me, where have you gone?
My last, it's funny, you forget, sometimes when you handicap all these races, you forget what's going on. I was like, how did my top 3 selections scratch? And I was like, oh, it's only a 6-horse field. Was that the same case for you? Was it the top 3?
No.
Okay. I wound up with Talk of the Nation, and I put her 4th originally thinking she was going to be getting a race, and there's much more turf pedigree there. At one point thought maybe she was in there to make the race go for the number 3 code name.
Correct. She looks like she was entering this race to help make the race go for code name, who was a vet scratch in here. And that bothers me. She has a complete and total turf pedigree.
Total. And the dam did win once on the dirt.
I understand. She has a complete turf pedigree.
It's all turf.
And I'm not taking a horse. Now, she may win because this might just be a 39 buyer race, and she might win because none of these can run. But, Jamie Begg, excuse me, thank you. Jamie Begg worked for Mark Cassie's, had success with that move. We saw Jamie do it with one horse. Turf to dirt, second time out. And this horse, has speed.
Yep.
Which is probably a valuable commodity given what's left in this race. And it's really more of a dirt pedigree than a turf pedigree. So I'm going to go with this one, New Gelding, for the race. I wouldn't try to pronounce the name.
Neuendijk. She's a hockey player. The problem with the problem I had with it.
You're a hockey fan now?
No, but I remember him from like the 80s and 90s.
Oh, he's an old-time hockey player.
I think there's a bunch of them.
Richie's very annoyed at me right now. Yeah, absolutely. He didn't play for the Rangers, did he?
I think it was Joe Neuendijk. Was it Joe Neuendijk? I think there were a few of them. Joe Neuendijk is the one.
There were several Neuendijks.
I think so. Joe Neuendijk is, I would bet a lot of money that there was a Joe Neuendijk. And he could have been a Ranger.
Wow. Well, Richie will know.
Yeah.
Wow. The only hockey player I ever heard of was Eddie Olczyk. It's not quite true.
Nyquist.
Mark Messier. Nyquist, right? Yeah, Mark Messier. Well, Messier is a horse.
So, and our buddy Hirsch had all the LSI Gold, Zubov.
I remember Zubov, yeah.
He was.
Was he
there was an
involved with
original
LSI Gold?
Messier. He helped run it.
Oh, I didn't know that.
There was another Messier. They had the first Messier. The Messier.
The worst Messier.
Messier
bled at Keeneland, I think, on when he was
Friday
or Saturday.
Anyway, Neuendijk, the one thing that bothered me about Neuendijk when the race was whole was the fact that, yes, it's more dirt pedigree, yet They only paid $40,000 for this horse, and he
Well,
wound up on the grass first time
Yeah,
out.
because this is something that the connections have done before.
He's been gelded since
one
his
of the
first
reasons.
race. He gets Jose Gomez, so
Race number 7.
because John Velasquez is in California.
So race number 7 is Ocean's Reserve. We'll take a look at his last race, and he met a field he almost couldn't help but beat. Is he going to be one of those horses that's good enough to win, that keeps losing races, but now that he's finally won a race, he's just going to win again?
He might. I'll tell you what. I mean, from a FIG point of view, he's the most consistent here by a long way.
Joe Newendike played for the Calgary Flames, by the way.
Did he could have played against him in the? You know
I'm
what?
just
Probably no. He probably played against him in the Cup year. That's why I remember the name. '94.
The Calgary Flames were the Cups?
They played them. They played the Rangers.
Really?
The Rangers beat the Flames. Pavel Bure and the Flames. Yeah.
Okay.
Ocean Reserve. Yeah. That was one of the worst maiden special weight races I could remember.
No, we've had much worse, but that was not a particularly strong one.
2 to 5, and he jig-jogged. I mean, yeah, he could be one of those horses because.
Was there a horse that got left in that race, or a firster that just couldn't run?
No, that
Bad?
wasn't the. That wasn't,
No, I know the race you're talking. No,
Yeah,
not the Doug O'Neill
that wasn't
race.
the Doug
No,
O'Neill race,
That
no.
was the time before.
Yeah.
Actually,
right,
that was
right,
the
that's
time
right.
before he
That
lost
was
to
the time
Baldassar.
before. Yep.
Yeah, I consider him kind of the horse to beat. What's the deal with Rhymes Like Dimes?
I just took a shot with a horse cutting back. I'm sorry, coming off the layoff from Saratoga. This horse didn't run 2 steps last time. Almost too bad to be believed. I would imagine there could be a little bit of moisture in the track. His best fig by far was on that sloppy seal track up at Saratoga against
So you picked him because you thought it was a wet track.
Price Discipline and Boss Making Boss. Well, the barn, I don't know what happened last time. The barn claimed this horse. He won. He ran a good third off of a pretty long layoff going 9 furlongs in Saratoga. And then he just stunk last time. But he gets another little break now. He's run well. He ran well in his debut. He ran well off the break last time. So I don't know. I want to take a little shot. I feel like Ocean's Reserve could absolutely win this race. But I also feel like people are going to look at this race and say, his figs are consistent. Him and 42 Ace are kind of have this to themselves early. And I think he's going to be favored again, and I just didn't want to take him as the chalk. Hope he wins for Leah, but just not reliable enough with all those seconds. The win's there, but those 4 second-place finishes are still staring you in the face.
Okay, I like 42 Ace in here. I think he's the speed of the speed, and it's not Joel, it's Irad, but Irad needs to be aggressive. It's a horse that does well when he's aggressively ridden. I thought he ran an interesting race in the race where Rhymes Like Dimes beat him because he did the dirty work in that race, and that pace completely fell apart. So while Rhymes and Dimes just sort of sucking up for a distant third, he actually did the running in that race. He came back, he ran a very credible second to Roderick, and then he's been in races where he hasn't been able to get the lead, where guys have been aggressive, the pace has been fast. Today, you just go to the lead with him. Put him on the front end, he'll get dangerous near. He's handled dry tracks, wet tracks the same. I think he's a very dangerous horse to wire the field, and he's a better price. So I get you with a 4. He can certainly win this race. I didn't really like any others. I know Dangerous Edge. He's sort of, dropping a little bit, but I'm just getting tired of that horse, to be honest with you. He got lucky in a couple races over the winter. He's okay. He's not impossible, but I prefer
I made some
horses.
money with him back in those. Yeah, I made some money with him 4 or 5 back. He's tailed, even last time, he really didn't do any running last time. He's tailed off considerably.
Race number 8, I thought, was a somewhat tricky race.
Agree. Yeah, this was a strange race.
So why don't you talk about Piece of My Heart?
I'm hoping that some of this pace materializes in here.
Well, it's supposed to. There is speed
Yeah.
in here.
And
though the 4 coming out diminishes a little bit.
A little bit. I just kept looking at the race and saying to myself, is it this simple to take the horse that's going to be coming from off the pace? And ultimately I decided that I didn't have any other option but
She hasn't won a race in a long,
She
long
hasn't won in
time.
a very long time. And
Bothers
that,
me about
I hate horses like that ordinarily. But you look at her lines and you see the Betsy Blue, the Good Night Olive, the Smash Ticket. Obviously, you're focusing on Good Night Olive and Smash Ticket on this card.
But she loses to whoever she runs against.
Yeah, I know, but
I mean, she finished behind Short Summer Dress.
she's
who we'll talk
supposed
about,
to.
so.
She's supposed to. The horses that she's finished behind in here are supposed to kind of cancel each other out a little bit on the front end. So I'm hoping that a combination of trip and a little class relief.
Can we show our second replay? Can we switch the replays around, guys? Because I want to show the Short Summer Dress race, and she finished 3rd. What was her excuse in the Saratoga race? She got plenty of pace to close into, Anthony. I hear what you're saying, and I'm not going to be shocked if she wins, but she got plenty of pace to close in here, and she couldn't even pick up Short Summer Dress. Now, maybe the question here is, where the heck did Short Summer Dress get this race from?
I think that's the better question, but I don't disagree with you. What happened to her that day? She just
Season
didn't
My
fire.
Heart didn't run a step in
Yep,
there.
she didn't
And
fire.
it's not like, I know Betsy Blue's better than her, but she closed and she just couldn't pick up really any ground.
But she, at the very least, she came and she ran. She fired 2 back, I thought, in the Goodnight Olive race. And then last time she
Did
was
she?
without a pick. Yeah, I thought she did. And then
No, she
last
didn't.
time
She
was kind of forced out of her comfort zone.
She beat
no?
the gate and other horses had trouble. She was a distant third. I get it. I feel like when you take her apart, she's a suck-up type. Now, maybe this race falls apart and she wins, and I suppose that's possible, but she just doesn't have any real winning oomph to me. She just does enough running to sucker people into losing money on her again.
You might be right.
And I'm not saying it's impossible, and listen, Dealing Justice, she has speed, but
She's
Short
fa-
Summer Dress is supposed to outrun her early. I mean, just go with Short Summer Dress. I don't know why they try the turf with her.
That was my problem with Fouette. I'm not looking to pick your
Fouette.
selection of Fouette, pick your selection apart, but she looks like she needs the lead to win.
Well, she doesn't, and that's evidence if you actually look at her PPs, but that's okay. We'll show Fouette winning her dirt race going back to May. Now, I don't think she's winning off this one because she rode a bias this day. But she ran a fast race. But no, she has won without the lead. That's the thing. If you go back to the race at Indiana Grand, she won without the lead that day, and she won easily. I know she's a big favorite, but she did rate that day.
I guess so.
And it's undeniable. Well, she did.
Yeah.
And she's got a guy riding on her.
Year ago today.
Pretty good rider. So I thought she was the one. I want a horse that's going to be forward, because when the pace doesn't materialize, she'll be forward. And when it does, she's shown the ability to rate. And
You all right with her getting 7?
I also found, I couldn't care less about that. She'll be fine. I also, look at this. Turf to scheduled dirt. 25%, 261. I don't love her, Anthony. I don't love anybody.
Can't love anybody in here.
I don't love anybody in here because what I'm more like is I don't like horses. I can't trust Short Summer Dress. I can't trust her at all. She ran that one race, and she was awful on September 1st. And
Dealing Justice
she got to
could
deal with
be
Dealing
running back into
Justice.
form, but they kind of get in her and Short Summer Dress almost have to get in each other's way,
Yes.
even for what they.
Self-isolation was in a terrible field. Now I understand, but racing doesn't work that way. It's not a battle of attrition, and I think Fouette, at the end of the day, might be the best horse in this race that can win, and that's why I took her. I don't love her. I'm not. Believe me, I'm not.
Well, like
loving
you
her.
said, it's tough to love anybody.
It was a
in here.
very, very, very difficult race. I thought the last race today was extremely difficult because, look,
Yeah.
for instance, the horse you picked on top, the last race. We can go to race number 9, guys. We'll show the replay of Slow Decisions win. Do you realize how bad this field was?
Awful, but
Do you realize how bad Bo in the back was? I'm sorry. This was an off-the-turf race that was atrocious.
Yeah.
And that 68 Beyer Fig, and listen, Timeform US has it fast too. So I'm not saying the Fig is wrong, but that to me has all the earmarks of one of these off-the-turf Figs that's going to live in a world of isolation.
And maybe you're right.
This was a terrible field.
Maybe you're right. I don't disagree.
I got the worst like third. Don't get me wrong. I'm not.
I don't agree with any of it. Obviously, the track condition. By this time, it's
So
4
what?
o'clock. There's supposed to be some
what?
rain. His race on the wet track was so much better than his fast track races. And maybe you're right. Maybe it was just a terrible field, and he beat up on horses that he was supposed to beat up on. But he's going to be the best price of the horses I think can win in here.
But I don't know if he's going to be 6-1. I don't know. Who's David have the Breadman?
Let's talk about this.
Yeah, I want
Go
to talk
ahead,
about
get
Breadman.
into it, my
No,
man.
I do. Because Breadman
We've talked about this twice over. Not once, but twice.
was scratched out of 2 off-the-turf races. The last one that he was scratched out of, it's in today's races.
Baldassar, Marinara Sauce, and Elite.
Right.
That was it.
The Baldassar. Look at Baldassar, the
That was
11,
it.
the MTO in race number 3, where Alight ran third, beaten
Well, he ran last.
12 lengths.
Yeah.
They scratched out of that race. That race had a purse of almost $74,000. So third was $7,500 roughly. The purse of this race is $28,000, where first is going to get you $15,400.
And it's a tougher race.
So it's half tougher race. It's like the Derby compared to that race. The Breeders' Cup Classic. Flightline's not in it, but other than that, and now they're running for 16. So they're running for 16. And by the way, running for 16. What were you thinking? I mean, and we said, by the way, the day they scratched, why isn't Breadman running?
Correct.
So anyway, good luck to this. They are giving this guy away. And I also have to say, and I guess he could win, one of the reasons I don't feel more inclined to like him is the fact that they didn't run him that day.
Right. Well, it's weird because obviously he's entered. This sounds so stupid. He's entered in the race. So they want to run him. They want to protect him initially and run him in an allowance race.
Nah,
But then
he's hit for 16.
you completely expose him in a
Right.
tougher spot for the bottom. This is the bottom for the conditions claimers. Listen, he'll get claimed today,
I'm
but
not-
I'll tell
I'm not
you
sure
right
he'll get
now,
claimed today.
if I was,
I'm not sure I'll get claimed today. Let me put it this way. I'll
Okay,
make,
he got
I'll,
all
make,
his
I'll make it
conditions.
easier for you. Horse racing is very hard. It's very hard for bettors. It's very hard for owners.
Everybody.
It's very hard for trainers. Don't make it harder.
this guy's yelling already.
But it's true. One of the
Yeah.
reasons is it's hard enough. Keep it, what is it? Keep it simple, stupid? Don't make it harder on
when
yourself.
he scratches the last time, you figure you're not going to see him for a while. And the last place you think you're going to see him is if it's 16 on
Two
in an
starts
attempted
later
dirt
for
race.
16,000 on an entered dirt race. It's really crazy.
Yeah.
Whoever made that decision. Inspiration Point can win. I get it. He actually ran well last time. I am just a little sick and tired of this horse, and I think he's going to be vying for favoritism. I get it. I may have fallen into the biggest trap of all traps. The trainer switched it. And the fact that my boy here didn't fall in the trap makes me like it even more. I don't know how you resisted this one. I mean, honestly, this one to me looks like a cream-filled donut. When I come into the office and they got those cream-filled donuts and I can't stay away from them, like they'd have to chain me to my desk, I could be like Houdini getting out of the chains to get
They
it.
couldn't get the fat man with this cream donut today. No.
I'm sorry.
He's
Switching
for
to
you,
Cameo,
buddy.
getting Irad. He is slow, no doubt about it. I'm in. In this field, I'll take the new face. But I agree, I may be being the biggest sucker of all.
One of the plays up on the site is a
Cream-filled
$10
donut.
pick 5 ticket today. Keep it nice and I used 5 in here. I threw Centavo in with the first with the 4.
Well,
we had
Santalo has a
here.
chance.
Yeah.
It's just tough connections to take, but he has a chance,
But
obviously.
I'm not gonna. He's the only other horse I think can run a little bit in here. I'm not gonna let him beat me at the biggest price.
See, I knew he'd know. Joe Neuendijk played on 3 Stanley Cup winning teams: Calgary, Dallas, and New Jersey.
Oh, he was the devil. But ask Rich if you're watching. Did he play against the Rangers in the Cup?
You'll see him.
in
You-
'94?
You'll see
That's
him
the
at some
question.
point.
That's what we want to
Figure
know.
it out.
We need to know.
I don't really care.
Well, you asked the question
I used to see Mark Messier all the time.
in the city. I
Yeah,
assume.
he used to show up at Lux like
I used to
after
see Brian
games.
Leach a lot over at O'Neill's.
I wouldn't recognize him.
O'Neill's was an OTB
people,
restaurant.
People know what O'Neill's was.
Yeah.
All right, we're done. We're done.
Still there.
We got to go upstairs.
I went a month ago.
You guys are not done. You're just getting started. Head over to Naira Bets.
Long day.
If you're not a member of
Lot of
Naira
racing.
Bets, use the promo code MATCH200. Go to NairaBets.com. Life is good. What,
want you
you're
to
gonna-
wear that
You were
next-
going to wear that
I
outfit?
want you to wear that next
I look
week.
good in that, by the way. Shockingly good in pink.
That pink or is that fuchsia? That's like Randy's colors. That's like fuchsia. Just missing the yellow.
That's a good call. That's future. What's the lightning round? What else do we have, guys? We have a fix and
And you
carry
want to move this? We have to keep this. This is our entertainment.
33,430. I don't want to move it.
I know.
Kidding me? You kidding me? I do miss the other opening. You know, with all the Americana.
We gotta wait another couple.
No,
about a month and a
no.
half. Oh, does it happen?
They got it's too good not to show all year round. $33,334 the mix carry over starts in
my
race
Lord.
number 4. We're laughing because, well, I'm not going to say. But anyway, middle pick 4 begins in race number 3. 3 pick 4s today. We also have a
pick 4s every
$25
day.
bonus if you bet 75 or more at Aqueduct, Churchill, and Delmar, and you opt in, which I know you did yesterday.
Yeah, everybody
and,
did.
We have the contest. You have until 5 o'clock today to sign up for the contest. Head on over to Naira.com/contest. And finally, last but not least, we are on from 12 to 5:30, covering all the action here and Churchill.
We gotta get upstairs.
I'm aware. We will go to Johnny I. He'll give us a reprise. Today's scratches and changes. Have a great day here at the Big A.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.